Hello, pet enthusiasts. Welcome to a special edition of Pet Chat. Normally, we run Pet Chat Saturday evenings, but we have a special guest today, Melanie, aka the Pup Mummy, who's going to be talking to us about shelter dog adoptions and shelter dog issues and some other stuff. She's quite an expert in that area, so I'm excited to have her talk about that. We are quadcasting right now, so you're listening to me from Twitter Spaces to LinkedIn to Clubhouse to Wisdom. It's all synced together, and you can request the mic when it's time to ask questions from any of the social audio sites. Just a heads up to everybody as you come in, I am recording this with a master recorder. So it's being recorded on Twitter. Clubhouse, of course, you should just expect everybody's always recording you. But a heads up for people on LinkedIn and on Wisdom, I am recording this show. So if you do come up to talk, just keep in mind that your voice will be in the recording. So without any further ado, I'd love to introduce my guest today, and that's Melanie. Melanie, how are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and thank you for giving up your time to talk pet stuff with us on Pet Chat. Just a little bit about you before we get going in some of the big questions. Where are you where are you calling into the show from? Where are you in the world?
Well, where I'm at in the world is I'm in the western suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
I'm about 50 miles west of Chicago in beautiful Fox Valley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Melanie, have you lived there your whole life, or is that like a recent thing?
Well, I've had the life most people dream about and read about in books. I spent the majority of my formative years here. I would say all the way up to maybe about age 35 or so. And then I went to Washington, D.C., and then I went and lived in Moscow, Russia for 3 years, and then came back into the United States and moved back home to take care of my mom and dad.
Okay.
Because they were elderly.
Right.
And after Dad passed away, I had my mom with me for 10 years, and then she passed away from dementia. Mm. And I've been in this house now for, I want to say, at least 21 years. And it's occupied by me and my 4 dogs.
Now, just before we get to the big questions, you've started, or you have a consulting business about puppies and seniors and working with families, because you have quite the experience working with dogs. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll give you a little bit about my background.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you.
Okay. The Pup Mommy is all about my helping people with their dogs, let's say behavioral, medical, and let's say even end-of-life issues. And it's based on my personal, practical, hands-on experience, which includes my mistakes, of owning, loving, and caring for dogs for close to 35 years. And I've raised dogs from puppies to seniors. I've gone both the breeder and the rescue route, large dogs, small dogs. And as I said earlier, I've got 4 dogs right now. I have 2 German Shepherds and I have 2 Boston Terriers.
Aw.
And to make it kind of a little simpler, I basically look to helping their kind of couple of groups of people. They're the wannabe dog owners, and then also more of the first time blending into the experienced dog owners. Mm-hmm. So for the wannabes, I help them first decide if they really want a dog. Mm. And what I ended up doing for this purpose is I wrote a blog post a few years ago, and I decided to take that blog post and I turned it into an ebook. Right. And it's called to Puppy or Not to Puppy. And that's where I take the reader through 8 in-depth questions about what it's really like to own a dog. Mm-hmm. And I want to give wannabe dog owners something to think about before they adopt a dog or a puppy, specifically because I don't want people to get in over their heads. And then the dog pays the price and it goes, or it's sent to a shelter. And to give you a really quick example, I adopted my German Shepherd Nabucco in March of 2020 mm-hmm. at 9 months of age. Mm-hmm. And I found out from the paperwork that was left with me, I was the 4th owner in 7 months.
Oh my goodness, that's heartbreaking.
So there's a classic case of people getting in over their heads. And in fact, the man that I purchased him from said that his landlord said the dog was too big, and that's why he had to get rid of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So,
I've heard that about like Bernese Mountain Dogs and Newfoundland dogs. Like people get the little puppy, and it
yeah,
just grows into this huge dog. Personally, I don't
yeah.
understand why you wouldn't want a big dog because they're sweethearts. But anyways, I keep going,
Yeah.
Melanie. Sorry.
Yeah. So no. So I basically help them first decide if they want a dog, and if they're still in it to win it. Then what I do is I help them determine the kind of dog and the type of dog that they should be looking
Mm-hmm.
for themselves or their families, so that both they and the dog are set up for success and they have a happy life together. Now, for the second group I mentioned, the first type dog owners and kind of the experienced dog owners, I look at myself as a resource that when they encounter medical or behavioral or end of life issues, I can help them through that.
Okay.
Because in the last 10 years alone, I've euthanized 6 dogs. And with my dogs, I've been through tumors, cancer,
Mm-hmm.
multiple surgeries from, the typical spay and neuter to spinal, orthoscopic, gastro, gazillion others. I've
Gotcha.
dealt with aggression, food disorders, anxiety, barking, counter surfers. So
Counter surfers. Our first golden was a counter surfer.
yeah. So I tell you, there's nothing worse than having your prime rib Christmas dinner counter served.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So from my perspective, there's very little that I haven't dealt with. So that when I work with people, and I've had neighbors ask me questions, work colleagues, whatever, I help them, and that way I help them is based on my experience because I've gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
And while every situation is different and dogs are different, I've walked the walk. So I don't offer help or counsel on situations where I don't have the knowledge or the experience. That I will not do.
Right.
So the other reason, and the final reason that I'm doing all of this, is because at my age and my point in life, I want to leave a legacy and I want to give back. And I know, we all heard about giving back, but on a monthly basis, I support a number of organizations here in the United States and throughout the world. Anything from the Canine Warrior Foundation
Mm-hmm.
and Mission Canine Rescue that brings dogs back from Iraq and Afghanistan, to Soy Dog in Thailand, Harmony Fund in Romania, DAR in Greece. A zillion of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt that, instead of giving $20 a month, wouldn't it be nice if I could instead give $200 a month or $1,000 a month? So that's in a nutshell who I am and what I do.
It's very admirable, and just my condolences to the loss of your pets in the last little while. It's such an awful time when that happens. But that's the one thing you probably have to really tell new dog owners about is you will outlive your dog, and that is a really rough time when it comes.
It is, and I've had people comment on some YouTube videos and that others that I've done on euthanasia and so forth about because so many people, they can be experienced dog owners, but all of a sudden their dog gets cancer. Well, cancer isn't necessarily a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't realize that. And then your dog needs euthanasia and they don't know where to turn. They don't know anything about it. They don't know.
Yep.
And boy, yeah. And I've even lost dogs on operating tables. That's not something you want to do either.
No. But you know what? That is it's a hard conversation, but it's a real conversation. And it's something that is very real about owning a dog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Melanie, one of the reasons why we have you talking with us today, and on Clubhouse, I've put a link to your website, and I believe on Twitter there's a pinned link, in the nest. It's like your little video, your pinned tweet. I think it has a link to your website there as well. So folks can check out your website and what you're all about as we go through the chat today. I'll work on figuring out how to do this on LinkedIn. I think I have to put it in the comments or something. I'm new to,
I don't know.
I'm new to LinkedIn over there.
Yeah. Everybody on LinkedIn is working, they're working on LinkedIn.
Okay. I think I got it.
Whatever.
But one of the big things that, I was listening to you talk in, I believe it was Madeline Sklar's space. She's this very, very brilliant lady that looks at your Twitter profiles, right? And that's where I heard you speak, and you're so passionate about dogs. And the thing that piqued my interest and what I'd like to chat with you about is the adoption of dogs, right, from a shelter. Because that's not something that I am familiar with. It's something that in the future my family may look at doing. But Bunsen and Beaker were not from a shelter. So it's outside of the realm of what I can even give people advice about. And one of the things we love to do is bring experts to our community. So this is a very broad question, Melanie, and take it however you want to, whichever way we go. What are some things that people need to think about when they are looking at adopting a dog from a shelter?
Okay. The first thing that I would say to people is to remember that dogs are sentient beings, meaning that they feel emotions just like we do. And anyone who is routinely on Twitter and sees daily postings of dogs in shelters like I do, like so many people do, they can tell from the photos, the videos, they can see when a dog is depressed, it's shut down, it's afraid, it's confused, and also see how its demeanor changes when it's given attention, let's say by the shelter staff, or when it's rescued and adopted. Because they know, they feel. Their dogs are very instinctive. They feel the emotions we do. So when people are thinking of going to a shelter for a dog, the first thing I would say to them is, it's okay, you're cruising through Pet Finder, but do your homework first and have in mind what you're looking for so that you minimize making a mistake. Because 6 out of 10 dogs adopted are returned.
That is such a high stat. I heard you say that, and I just I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah,
I found it unbelievable, and so that's why I say to people, I don't want you or the dog to be a statistic. The second thing is that when you're bringing your pup home, give it time to get used to you and get used to you on its timetable. Make sure that it has a space where it's comfortable, it feels safe. And remember that whether the dog came in as a stray or it's surrendered, the shelter is kind of like it's an environment. It's like New York City. It never sleeps.
Lots of honking.
And I have been in animal care and control shelters. And when I come out, I have, even before I get out, I get highly emotional and I get stressed. So when you're bringing your pup home, remember what it's been through, and that this dog is still trying to figure out if this adoption is really permanent. Now, some dogs are going to blend with you and your family, like, they've been there forever. And other dogs, it's going to take more time. The dog may have an accident. It may not eat right away. If it eats right away, it could possibly throw up. So the thing is, you got to be prepared for that. So you take things slowly, and also to have a plan in place as to how you're going to train the dog. Now, there's a study out that was done last year, and you can find it on Pet Finder's website. And it was a study done on reasons that owners surrender their dogs. And one particular statistic I just zeroed in on. 96% of dogs surrendered by owners have received zilch zero training. And I thought, oh my God. So even if a shelter says that, the dog knows commands, it doesn't hurt, it really doesn't hurt to reinforce that as an owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now the dog is in your home. It's in your environment. And then the other thing I might add also is if you have children, and, I know it's exciting. You see all these, videos and, kids are screaming and happy and joyous and all that. Yeah. But you know what? Show your children how and when to handle the dog. So how to approach the dog, how to approach a new puppy. Where do you put your hands? Where do you not put your hands? And, with my cousin's children, I used to say to them, you have a new 4-legged brother. You have a new 4-legged sister. So that kind of connoted in their minds that, ooh, this pup is really something special. Yes, it is. It is not a doll. It is not an Xbox. You need to care for it, love it, and treat it respectfully.
I am, just to go back to your 6 out of 10 statistic, just quickly, Melanie, I heard you say that actually in another space. And it's not that I didn't believe you. I totally, I was like, that's probably true. I got that. But that affected me for like a week after you said that. Like, in the quiet moments of the night, sometimes I'd be just like, oh my goodness, these poor dogs, are just being ping ponged back and forth from homes to shelters.
Yes.
And yeah, like your main point of like being prepared, doing your homework, that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
and
I know, because I have friends who, one of the first things that they, I had a colleague at work, he was a single gentleman, and he was home all the time because, with the firm, I have a full-time job in addition to this job. I work for a global consulting firm. And because of the nature of our work, we can work from home because we just, can work virtually.
Right.
And so he was thinking about getting a dog. And we were talking back and forth, and he says, "Well, I'm looking at Pet Finder. I'm Pet Finder this one and this one and this one." And it's like, they're looking at the sob story. I shouldn't say that, but they're looking at the story of the dog. They're looking at how the dog looks in the photo. I mean, and so many times that some people are doing things on emotion. And I will say two things. Adopting a dog is a balancing act between your head, your heart, and your instincts. And the second thing I will say is, which I use as a mantra of sorts, is that the dream dog, the dog of your dreams, is not necessarily the right dog for you at this point in your life. And that's what I like to try and get across to people. That, I have a very dear friend, a colleague. She grew up with German Shepherds. But German Shepherd is not the right dog for her at this time in her life. And she ended up with, I think it was a pointer, much smaller dog, but, one that fit her husband's sporting lifestyle and their children.
Aw.
So
I kind of feel that's what happened with us with Bunsen is we had a golden before Bunsen named Callan. And as dogs do, they age and they die. And it was crushingly sad. And I had only known golden retrievers, right? And as chance may have, we fell, like we went to take a look at these Bernese puppies, and oh my goodness, that was the end of it. That's where Bunsen came from. little Burner came over to us. He toddled over us. He was a great big puppy. He was the pudgiest one of all of them, and he was the happiest thing. And that's where Bunsen came from. So, and I was set on getting another golden after we lost our first golden too. So that's an interesting tale that you have a good mantra.
Well, I've had Bostons growing up. I've always had Bostons. And, I had, when my elderly mother was living with me, we didn't have necessarily large dogs because she was afraid of, being knocked over.
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah. Well, the only thing is that sometimes what older people, and, especially like if you're thinking about getting a pup for your grandmother or something like that, sometimes you have to really take into consideration the size of the dog, because there are a number of people who, they'll automatically think small dog because small dog, easier to handle, less expensive. But then what good is getting a small dog if something, God forbid, your grandmother trips and falls over the dog and then you end up in a nursing home? Right. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I've had Bostons, as I have now. I'm Shepherds, I've had Dobermans, and I've had Labs.
Very good point. Just a little bit more into your second point you said about giving the dog time to like in a quiet space and being prepared for puke and accidents. I think a lot of dog owners they have no new dog owners, or maybe owners that are thinking about adopting, they just maybe aren't realistically prepared for a puppy or a shelter dog having accidents everywhere. Like that's part of it. You have to be prepared for that. It may happen.
Yeah.
It will happen with puppies.
Yeah, it will. And that's why sometimes, it makes sense that, depending on where you're going to put the dog crate or the dog bed or whatever, you put it on a floor or a space that, of course, is going to be easy to clean up.
Absolutely.
Any dog owner out there, knows that that's going to happen. And so that's why also in that ebook I mentioned to people as they're thinking about getting a dog, I basically come right out and say, your dog has diarrhea on your bedroom carpet. What are you going to do? Your dog throws up in your car. What are you going to do?
Yep. I've been there.
Yeah. I mean, it gets people thinking. And, just using my dog Ophelia as an example, I adopted Ophelia. She's my other German Shepherd. I adopted her at 5 years old. And she came from the same breeder that I got my Olympia from, who I lost when she was 12 years old. Mm. So I had a deposit on another puppy. And then I decided, I saw something that they had a retired breeding dog. And at the time that happened, my two Bostons were like a year and a half, and Nabucco was 2 years old. And I thought, well, she's a breeding dog. She was a mama. Maybe we have an adult in the house. Okay. So I decided I would bring her home. I took Nabucco with me. We went up to look at the breeder and all that, and I decided on her. The first red flag was when the breeder had to lift her into my SUV. And I thought, well, that's odd. When I got her home, that's when I got the shock of my life. And when I say shock of my life, I mean this. She didn't know how to use the stairs. She couldn't go up and down the stairs. She never saw stairs before. She nearly crashed through my storm door because she never saw a glass door before. I found out literally that she had never lived in a home. She basically lived her life in a kennel. She was a breeding dog.
That's awful.
Yeah, she was a breeding dog. She was a West German line highly pedigreed dog. So her puppies were going for like $4,000 to start. But she had no clue. She doesn't even know how to play with a toy. She still doesn't know how to play with a toy. And when I brought her home, the only thing that she did was circle the kitchen island for like 20, 25 minutes nonstop. Mm-hmm. Because that replicated pacing in the crate or pacing in the cage. And I mean, I ended up finding a research paper on the web. It was written by a DVM who did a study of puppy mill dogs transitioning into private homes and what some of their reactions were, how they stare off into space, how they seem to hear things, how they just, all that I could have been reading about her.
Yeah.
So I literally, when you think about it, I look at her as my shelter dog, and I've now had her for almost 2 years, and I'm still working through issues with her.
Well, to a dog, it's a lifetime of trauma, or just like a totally different experience in their life where they are now.
It is. It is. And she, my Shepherds and my Bostons have always been, because my hands are all over my dogs.
Yeah.
I'm always petting to them. I'm always talking to them. She is more standoffish. And the reason is because she's never been given love and affection. Therefore, she's not too sure how to give it in return.
Right.
And that just breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart too. I'm so sad. I'm so sorry for your dog's experience, but I'm glad she's with you. I'm glad her life has changed a bit. So
she's mine for life.
I know. Well, thank you. For everybody in the room here is probably so thankful that she found a home with you.
I am too, because I have said this to a couple of my friends that if she had gone, because there was interest in her from two other people, but I say to myself, if she had gone with a less experienced German Shepherd owner or someone else, she could have easily been in a shelter and euthanized by now.
Right.
From what I have gone through with her.
She would have been another statistic. Oh, how sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie, thank you for giving us a little bit of advice on what to expect when bringing a shelter dog home. That's all good stuff for us to know. So if you're just tuning in now, just a little bit of a reset. We are quadcasting the show to Clubhouse, LinkedIn, and Wisdom, as well as here on Twitter Spaces. I see Indra. Hello, Indra. Indra's listening from LinkedIn. We had a couple people on Clubhouse, but they gone now. And we've got some listeners on Wisdom, so that's awesome. Our guest today is Melanie, the pup mummy, who has a lifetime of experience of working with dogs. And I'm just picking her brain about some things that generally Chris and I have no experience with to give people help with. And we've been talking about shelter dogs. Melanie, the second part of the interview before we open up the floor to questions, if some people do, is something that we kind of chatted about through DM that you'd like to talk about. And that's the struggles that people have when times get tough to keep their dog. I was wondering if you could, and again, I don't have any experience with that, but I would love your perspective. Like,
oh God.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, that's a doozy of a question. I mean, for, even for myself included, the steps that I can share with you that I'm taking now, and there are probably so many of your listeners out there who have their own ideas as well. But I know that I personally have recently seen more and more stories on television, on the internet, of dogs being abandoned. And I saw some numbers recently that there are more than 100,000 dogs have entered shelters this year versus the same period last year.
Oh.
And there are shelters and rescues now. They are overwhelmed. Adoptions are down. And many of these dogs now are coming in due to the economy. It's, the days of the back to work COVID, that's over.
Okay.
This is the economy now. And I'm going to give a little shout out for a YouTube channel that I watch. It's a channel called Misfit Shepherds, and it's run by a gentleman and his wife, and they're out of McCalla, Alabama, and they're on YouTube. And what they do is they rehabilitate and find homes for German Shepherds. Mm-hmm. And I think he has 2 videos where he shouted out that it's now at like epidemic proportions down in his location. And he actually had to turn down a couple of dogs because he just doesn't have room. But he's working on trying to find a foster or something for these dogs. But, I will say that owning dogs, and, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 2 of the most expensive costs in owning dogs are food and veterinary care. And
that's correct. We talked about that on the Science podcast. Yes.
Yeah. And I just went through another round of vet care for Ophelia. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's not cheap, especially when you need testing done. Mm-hmm. But I think in so many respects, you have to keep in perspective where you can save money and where you need to spend it. Like with vet care, I continue with the flea and tick. You're going to need vaccinations, but at the same time, I do not over-vaccinate my dogs. So you have to talk with your vet and say, do I really need this vaccination? Because with my dogs, they are not kenneled. They're not in doggy daycare. So let's say Bordetella, I don't do Bordetella.
Right. That's smart.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. So the other thing too, what I have done now is I have changed to a less expensive dog food, but definitely one that is not chicken based, because I learned early on that the money that I save in cheaper dog food I spend in vet bills because of ear infections and lick wounds because of allergies. Yeah, right. So I've also cut. I give my dogs supplements. So another way I'm cutting down is that instead of them getting two tablets a day, I maybe do 1 tablet a day, and then maybe I'll do 2, but I do 1. So I'm saving some money there. Another thing I've done is, I have a dog bed that needed replacing from wear and tear. Okay, I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I have a lot of old blankets here. I'm going to, fold up a blanket, put it in the crate. It works.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, they're happy with that. I can wash it more easily. So there's a situation there. I happen to have dogs who are crazy about milk bone. So I buy in bulk. Yeah, I buy in bulk. So that's something else. And I'm also a DIY groomer. All right. And with my Bostons, it's not an issue because you throw them in a utility tub. You can throw them in the kitchen sink. And, and it works.
You can't really do that with a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yeah, exactly. And And I also clip their nails.
Oh
That's
yeah.
something that people may be a little skittish about and uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But, I use a nail file. I invested in a Dremel many years ago, where, a zzz, and the
Yep.
dogs don't seem to mind. They don't seem to mind it at all. Like you, with my big dogs, I brush them regularly. I
Yes.
use a Furminator, so I'm able to keep them pretty darn clean. Um, Toy wise, my dogs are not rough and tough on their toys. I think the last time I bought a toy was 18 months ago. So I just keep an eye on them. And when they get really scraggly, I start snipping them and, clipping them. And then I'm a person who likes to go to pet supply warehouses. And sometimes too, it really depends on your situation in terms of, where you live, who your neighbors are, and so forth. And if you have dogs, like in my neighborhood, every house has a dog. But at the same time, I mean, sometimes you can start like a co-op. And let's say you want to buy in bulk, and everybody shares the cost, and it turns out to be a little less expensive. But
Hmm.
one thing I will say is that yes, I know there are people out there. They're using the economy as an excuse. But you know what? When there are people who are on an incredibly tight budget or a fixed income, fixed budget, you got the gas prices, you got the food prices. But if you're in that situation, look at it this way also. Is there anyone in your family, a friend or whatever, who can help you out temporarily, whether it's financially or whether taking your dog for a few months? Because people, when they surrender their dog to a shelter, so many of them are under the impression that it's a great dog, it's a good dog, it'll be adopted soon, it'll be adopted by someone else. But what they don't realize is that less than 4 out of 10 dogs will ever walk out alive.
Hmm.
So it's tough, and it's going to get tougher.
Hmm.
And I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional too. But again, I couldn't imagine giving up Bunsen or Beaker. But my wife and I are just blessed and fortunate. We have very stable jobs, so I definitely can see myself in the boat of a family where beyond their control, things were going great, and then boof, they got hit by a
Yes.
freight train.
Yes.
Like somebody lost their job. There's a huge medical bill if you're an American. I
Oh,
know that
yeah.
can be a big issue that can drain your resources.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Melanie, I
Yeah.
have a question for you about what your and again, this is just your perspective as somebody who has, have a lifetime of working with dogs. What do you think about pet insurance?
I have pet
Okay.
insurance. I have had pet insurance since 2001.
Okay.
The only reason I had pet insurance at that time because I fell into it. My company's benefits program
Hmm.
offered MetLife, and MetLife was part of some other kind of. And the pet insurance I started with was veterinary pet insurance out in Brea, California,
Hmm.
and they were purchased by Nationwide. And I view pet insurance the same way I view car insurance and home insurance. It's there for catastrophes. Now, some of my friends who own dogs, they are of the opinion that they'll put away $40 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month. But I'll tell you something, your dog has surgery. When I lost my lab Noel, case in point, I lost my dog on the operating table. He was 7 years old. I was at that point where I had to look at how many dogs I had, what were my monthly premiums, what was I spending annually. And at the time, my 2 German Shepherds were over 10 years old. And I felt that with the premiums I was paying, I just, I was close to $2,000 a year in premiums with my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought
It can be very expensive. I understand.
yes,
Yeah.
because the older the dog gets, the more the premium goes up.
Yeah.
And, not all insurance is created equal. And, I decided that, okay, I'm not going to pay the premium for Noel. So what ends up happening? He needed gastro surgery. He died on the operating table. Between trying to medically manage it for, 1 week and then the surgery, I was out $5,500.
Yeah. So expensive.
Now, it is expensive, but at the same time, I also had Nationwide, and I bought a cancer rider for my little Boston Terrier Chipper.
Mm-hmm.
Chipper was a cancer magnet. He had 5
Oh, no.
mast cell tumors. By the time he died, in summary, I got back $12,000 from the insurance company because they paid for all his cancer. They pay for special diagnostic testing. They pay for a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when my colleague said, I'll put away $40 a month, well, you know what? Your dog's going to have to live 10 years or you're going to have to save 10 years because surgeries are really the killer.
Mm-hmm.
And, the only thing that you have, and where it makes sense in a way, is if you have a puppy and that's when you start taking out the insurance. Because with insurance, like homeowners and auto or whatever, there's a waiting period. So if your dog needs surgery and you decide you're going to take out insurance, chances are they're probably not going to cover it because it's a pre-existing condition.
Right.
But it has worked for me.
Okay. I so appreciate your perspective, Melanie. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Melanie, is there anything else you'd like to chat about in the interview section before we ask the community if they have any questions?
Oh goodness, I think you covered all my bases.
Perfect. Okay, I just wanted to check before we moved on, and in case there was some.
I think I need some water just to
yeah. Go take a little.
Just to keep myself quiet for a few minutes.
Go take a little slurp. Hey, Chris, I see you there. Can I bring you up as a co-host? Chris is my wife. She was busy earlier today. Well, Melanie is taking a little break. I just want to thank everybody for tuning into this special edition of Pet Chat. Normally Pet Chat runs on Saturday, so I do appreciate everybody showing up at this definitely different time. We have our science space is tomorrow, as it normally is, and that's with Dr. Amaritha Mallikarjun. She was part of a research team that taught dogs to sniff COVID-19, so that's tomorrow. And then later this week on Thursday, where we have Shannon from Backyard Pet Chat, also Truly Force Free Training, and she's going to have some training tips for puppies. So it's this week is gone to the dogs.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Okay. Melanie, are you good to take a few questions if anybody has any?
If anyone has any, sure.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
What I can. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know.
Perfect. And as people are thinking about to ask questions or not, Melanie, when people click on your website, can they book consulting with you? Is that one of the things you offer?
Yes, they can. They can. It's under. I think it's under Learn. It's consulting services. They can book an hourly rate. If you need something that's more involved, we could work out a package. That's not a problem.
Right.
And then also for the wannabe dog owners, in case people know of somebody who wants to be a dog owner, or they think they want to be a dog owner, my To Puppy or Not to Puppy is available. It is a digital download, so that is also available there.
I love that. I'm going to check out that ebook. That's To Puppy or Not To Puppy.
Yes.
I love it. Great name. Okay, so folks, we're going to throw that out to you guys as the community. If you have questions for Melanie, or if you want to share a story that maybe she could help walk through, we would love to hear your questions or your comments. And that's from all of the different social audio sites. So we'll wait a second. There's usually a little bit of an awkward pause. Okay, we've got Kathy coming up. I'm not sure if Chris can actually act as a co-host. Chris, are you driving around right now?
Well, no, I'm in the parking lot. I'm going to pick up Adam, so I'm parked.
Okay. Don't try to be a co-host while you're driving. That's super dangerous. Hi, Kathy. Did you have a question or comment?
I actually have a comment. When we were going to get a second dog, so we had one golden retriever, and we thought, well, at our age, maybe we should rescue a senior golden. So we contacted the local golden rescue. And at the time, which now is 3 years ago, they told us that there's a waiting list and there's practically no chance you'll ever get one, and you can't fence your yard, et cetera, et cetera. Well, just last week, I got an email from them. They have 40 Goldens. They're seeking homes.
40 golden retrievers? Oh, my God.
40 golden retrievers. And they used to be importing Goldens from Turkey and China. And now they have 40 just from the Midwest
Oh my goodness.
that they're looking for homes for, which for us it's too late because I think Bernese Mountain Dog and the Golden Retriever is plenty for us. But so what you're saying, Melanie, absolutely. We're seeing in the Twin Cities, our shelters were empty all over the Twin Cities until about 6 months ago when they started filling up again.
Yeah. I know.
Well, that's it's heartbreaking, but Kathy, thank you for talking about that. Maybe somebody's listening is in your area, Kathy, and they're like, you know what? I would love a golden retriever.
Yeah, I hope that would happen. And if it does, just DM me and I'll let you know how to find them.
That's the danger. I told Chris, if we go anywhere and they're like, there's dogs and like, would you take this dog? I would say yes. So I have to stop myself from like, I literally would probably, if I went to a place and there were golden retrievers and they needed a home, I'd come home with like 7 of them probably. And that would be a disaster. So
yeah, you know what I would say too in terms of senior dogs. Seniors are normally thought to, shelters and rescues start calling dogs seniors when they're around 8 years or older. And, depending on the breed of dog, that 8-year-old dog, I mean, when I had my 2 shepherds, I lost them both within 2.5 months of each other, and they were 12 years old. And Olympia was still tearing around the backyard with my Boston. Yeah, with my Boston. So when you think about senior dogs, don't necessarily think that you're going to end up with, one medical bill after another medical bill after another. There are a lot of senior dogs there that are really quite active and are going to live healthy for a number of years. So my point is, don't be afraid to adopt them. And they're, the other thing is too, most of them are a little more chilled than puppies.
Yeah.
And you're still going to be able to go out and you're going to be able to, take a walk around the block with them. So again, my counsel to people, don't sell the seniors short.
Good point, Melanie. Thank you so much. I appreciate you chimed in. I love it. We'll go to Paula and then Riley. Paula, hi.
Hi, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you for coming. This is so interesting. I'm a dog walker, so I see it all. I swear, because being a dog walker and the way people take care of their dogs and stuff. But most people are pretty good. But my comment is, I had an elderly friend who was 85 who acts 60. She's cognitive, reads books, and a real active senior, and went to adopt a pet. And got turned down because of her age, because they were worried that the dog or cat would have to be placed in another home and the trauma and all that stuff. And I think today it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, you've got to be, giving it to a good home. But what is your take on the process of this? Because I feel that people need companionship when they do get older. And if they do qualify, why are they getting turned down? Because of their age. I was mortified because we drove like 2 hours to get this pet. And this poor lady left crying because they didn't want to adopt her. It was terrible. And it was like, I my heart was broken. And she finally had to go out of state to find a cat. And it was a cat. It wasn't a dog, but it was a cat. And she finally found one, but she was heartbroken because her cat died. She had nobody, she's a single lady, and she was a widow. And they said, no, we're not going to. The first thing they asked her, because they said, oh, is this your friend? I said, yes. They go, how old is she? I said, she's a spry 85. They go, nope. I go, what do you mean, nope?
You should have said she was 42, Paula.
I should have, but it was like, I just felt so bad. And I my mouth dropped. I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, do you want a blood sample? And, her firstborn too. It's like, come on, people. It's like, I don't know. You're going to get me on my soapbox and I don't want to turn it into that. But I just, I mean, what is your take on it? It's like, it's almost overboard. It was like she had to go through the 50 questions of like, did she rent or own the home and all this stuff? And she's very, she's got enough money, believe you me. And it was, like I said, it was just devastating to her. And I just wanted your intake on that.
Well, I totally get where you're coming from. And, I'm not 85, but I will give you my true age. It is actually 65. And what I personally have done is I have my dogs in an estate plan. I have made arrangements if something happens to me where I cannot take care of them, whether it's temporarily or whether it's permanently. And sometimes what people don't realize, and I have a YouTube video out on my channel, a breeder versus rescue. And when I adopted my 2 Boston Terriers, I was over 60 years old. I did not have a problem with that. But what I got out of the breeder is, and what I've had with breeders as well, and this also can be something to do with rescues, is that I have them ensure that if something happens to me, that breeder will take the dogs back no matter what age. All right. So that's one area there. Some breeders will, some you have to work with them. But the other thing that I do is I also, there's Illinois Doberman Rescue that I had arrangements with them to, at that time, like, if I had to go into the hospital, because I'm single, there's no children, there's no other, anything like that. So I have to have somebody take care of my dogs. So you can make arrangements that way as well. So my suggestion is, if this lady, does she have something in the back of her mind, or does she have plans? Because sometimes when you work with a rescue, you say, and other rescues too will say that, they'll take the dog back if something happens to you. But if you are working with a rescue or a breeder and you are older, see if there is something, and they're kind of hesitant about giving you, or adopting a dog out to you. If you say to them, look, I'm putting something in my will that there is going to be money set aside for this dog to care for it until, let's say, you find it a home, that may work.
I just wanted to add to that. Well, she has 2 daughters, and one does live in Canada, but the other one lives in the States. And the one that lives in the States is only not even, an hour from her. And she has cats, so she would have taken a cat, I know, if something happened to my friend. But they wouldn't even buy that, which was so sad. I mean, they just refused it because of age. And I thought that was such discrimination. I don't know. I mean, I'm not faulting them. I can understand what they're coming from, but it's like, well, aren't you an adoption place for kitties? And it's like, they had so many kitties and cats. And it was like, are you going to let them go? Or are you just keeping them for like ornaments? It was just kind of sad. It really was. I was really kind of surprised, because this was a large place that, was a pet adoption in the southern part of the state. But anyway, thank you for that.
No, I mean, I will tell you that I have not only read, but I've heard from people where, they go to the rescue and they like your friend, you have to fill out 50 questions, and then all of a sudden you're not qualified. What? I don't know. It's subjective, or I don't know. I can't, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, thank you.
Workaround that's kind of sneaky is get the daughter to come get the cat and give the cat then to the mom.
Oh, we really thought of that too. Oh, okay. Believe you me.
Okay, because that's just my brain. I'm always thinking loopholes, how to, let's loophole this thing.
We did, because I was going to say that I was going to adopt it.
Yeah.
Because and then we were kind of like, I don't know, I had to have a really good poker face, but it turned out all well.
Yeah.
So
and then just gaslight them when you come in. They're like, weren't you just here? And you're like, no, that was somebody else. What are you talking about? We've never been here before. And they'd be like, I'm pretty sure they were here yesterday. Anyways. Thanks, Paula. Okay, over to Riley. Francis, you are a very new account. You've requested to speak. I've DM'd you. So generally we don't bring brand new accounts up. But if you check your DMs, we'll let you come up if it looks like you are, a real person. I'm not saying you're not a real person, but I'm saying you are a brand new account with many numbers in it. That's okay though, because Chris used to be an egg. Chris, my wife, was an egg. Her profile was an egg for like 7 years. Riley, go ahead.
I have to be a real person? Oh Lord. Yeah, just a quick plug. We've having survived the very first puppy my family ever got, and you guys have heard all about our Bunsen.
Yeah.
Yeah, adopting older dogs are awesome. The first golden retriever we had, he was an estimated 8 or 9, which means he lived to about 17.
Whoa, really? Did you say that before, Riley?
I don't think so.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I don't think that he was actually that old.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it's if he was actually 8 or 9 when we got him, like I said, we had him for almost a decade.
Wow.
But yeah, Kathy, where's all the dogs? I missed that part because we're going to be soon, regrettably, in the market. Our Akita, who is an estimated 12 or 13, is rickety. And we're going to be looking soon for a new buddy for our Bernies, who's almost 2 and could love a buddy. So
Berners and Goldens get along pretty good, Riley.
They do. I've watched, and I don't think I can do another puppy. I'd really rather not do another puppy. So
Kathy, where did you say those Goldens were? Riley's asking if you can still speak.
They're with it's called Ragum, RAGOM. Okay, up in Minneapolis. Golden of the Midwest. Yeah, now they serve more. Yes. Okay, got it. I'll go and yeah. And like I said, this fall we'll probably be looking, and I'll check in with them. Awesome. Yeah, go to their website. Yeah. But again, love older dogs. Love someone I don't have to take out every 2 hours when they're a little puppy. Love all that. So.
As you've heard from our tales of Bunsen and Beaker, the teething was way better with Beaker because she just used Bunsen as her teething toy. Poor guy. Oh. Yeah, he's got a heart of gold. That big guy. Yeah, it was a little different with our Bunsen when he was a puppy. When he started getting bigger, his favorite thing to do was when Lily, our elderly Akita, would be fast asleep, he would get up close to her, he'd spin around, and then he'd back up and sit down on top of her head. Oh yeah. The burner sit. Yep. Yeah. For a long time, I was convinced I wasn't going to have to neuter him because he just kept doing that, and it's like, buddy, you don't know what you're getting into. Don't do that. He's going to lose something kind of important. Yeah. But I'm. Puppies are wonderful. They're like babies as long as I can give them to somebody else and go to sleep.
Well, then you know what? I lucked out with my little Boston Allegra because when I brought her home, she slept through the night, every single night. I don't know how I lucked out, but she did.
I've heard that about babies too, and I refuse to believe it. So.
Bunsen, after the first night, he slept through the night after puppy, but Beaker was a different story. Yeah. So we got spoiled with Bunsen.
Jason, that's not accurate.
It isn't? Beaker was up in the night for about a week.
Yes, but Bunsen was too.
Was he? I don't remember that.
I slept on the floor outside the crate for probably...
that's because he didn't like his crate. That's right.
He didn't like the crate.
That's right. We had the soft crate, he would roll it like a hamster ball and roll it around the house. He'd body check it over and then get it going and then be like a giant burner and a hamster ball. I remember this now. Thanks for chiming in, Chris. All right, we lost that speaker request. I didn't mean any offense, Francis. If you are indeed a real person and you're listening, I'm leery of giving speaker abilities to like very, very brand new accounts. So I just do appreciate that you're here. Just check your DMs and you're welcome anytime. Again, maybe you just started your account and it's a whole thing. And I apologize for that if I took offense. So this space was meant to be about an hour. So we're going to start wrapping things up. Melanie, where can people find your website? Like, do you have a URL that you could tell people about?
It's www.thepupmommy.com. It's P-U-P, the pup, MOMMY.
Okay, perfect. And are you going to be hosting any spaces yourself, or can people ask you questions on Twitter?
Oh yes, I mean I'm on every. I should say I'm on practically every platform. I'm in the process right now of hiring some help to keep me active on social media. But I am on Instagram under the Pup Mommy. I'm on YouTube. I'm on obviously Twitter.
Yeah.
on TikTok. And what was that other platform? I'm starting to do podcasts now, so I'm on Spotify.
Nice, good for you.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. I am just going to blanket.
What's your podcast going to be called, or is it out already?
Well, it's basically called the Pup Mommy. I uploaded a couple of chapters on To Puppy or Not to Puppy, but again, there's one of me. And there's a lot of There's a lot to cover.
Yeah,
a lot to cover.
I get it. I sometimes join these podcast spaces, and it's for indie podcasters. That's what I consider, like myself, an independent podcaster. And then sometimes I join these like power podcasting things on Clubhouse, and they're like, yeah, we were talking to our team about the new story we were going to do on our podcast. And I was like, you have a team? You have a team? I'm like, it's me and my computer. What is going on? So I feel for you how busy it is.
Yeah. And you know what? And everybody keeps telling you, don't be perfect. Just get the content out there. But I also want to ensure that my content is going to benefit people. Mm-hmm. And when I first started doing YouTube, I mean, I was like a brain drain. And, if you want to know breeder versus rescue, I mean, I've got stuff out there that will give you anything that you want to know about the breeder or the rescue route. When your dog needs surgery, what to look for in a really good vet. Same thing with euthanasia. Same thing about, there's a number of different topics that I cover because I just really, the more you know as a dog owner or a wannabe dog owner, basically I'm helping dogs by helping owners, and that's my whole point.
I love it. That is amazing. What a way to sum up what we've been talking about, Melanie. Good job. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So please give Melanie a follow. We've got, there's 20, 30 odd people here on Twitter Spaces. If you're listening in on LinkedIn, hello. I think we've just got Dr. M. He's the only one left. Hey, Dr. M. That's okay. Dr. M is like a professional site, and we've just started doing audio shows there. If you're listening on Wisdom, make sure you Google the Pup Mommy. Probably find some of her accounts somewhere. And Melanie, from me to you, thank you for being a guest today on our special edition of Pet Chat.
Oh, thank you for having me. It has been great fun, and enjoyed it.
Yay. Okay, so we're just going to wrap up with our wrap-up music. One more time, let's give the Pup Mommy some love in the social audio spaces with those emojis. That looks very cool. I should video these one day with like screen capture. It's cool seeing them, all the emojis pop up like popcorn. Hey, there's people on Wisdom listening. Oh my goodness. Normally they're lurking. Okay, Dr. M is giving thumbs up and hearts on LinkedIn. All of social audio is cheering you on. So again, thanks for being our guest today, Melanie. Please remember, everybody, Science Chat is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have Dr. Amritha Mallikarjun, who is a dog researcher. And then this Thursday, I believe at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Shannon from Truly Force-Free Training, who will be talking about puppy training tips. So if you got a new puppy, or you're thinking about getting a new puppy, or you want to just learn what you did wrong or how you could improve the next time, come listen to Shannon from Truly Force-Free Training on Thursday. Saturday is our big Pet Chat space. Tuesday next week is one more side chat, and then Chris and I are taking a break. We're doing no more social audio for a couple weeks. Okay. But it's so fun. It's so rewarding. So thank you. This space is recorded on Twitter. It'll stay up for about 24 hours, and then it'll move over to our podcast feed as bonus content. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for showing up. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here listening to us and our amazing guest, Melanie, the Pup Mummy. Okay. Take care, everybody.